Bro, I'm pumping off adrenaline. I'm way too in my element. I know there's people better than, but right now who is better than? A man that's working hard as shit, trying to find a pot to piss. Showing all the ups and downs, shit is filled with awkwardness. Working on my discipline, time for me, I schedule it. Show my life unedited, I'll be doing shit I never did. Music therapeutic.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. Now, today's topic, I want to talk about your ego and what you believe and feel and think that you deserve in this world. And I think it's going to be very eye-opening for a lot of you guys because I'm going to give you a perspective shift as to how I'm even viewing the ego, how I came to thinking about this subject, and just the entire shift in terms of comparing what you do every day and what you have been through in your life and how your ego almost manipulates you and kind of reverse psychologies yourself. You don't even realize it because it's your subconscious programming. You know, our ego is our sense of self, and I feel like a lot of us get caught up in the idea of life of what we think we deserve versus what we actually deserve. And at the end of the day, you know, you're entitled to feel however you want to feel, except there's a big gap that may need to be bridged with your ego and your sense of self as to the actual realization as to what you deserve. And a prime example of this is, let's say, physicality. You feel like, again, I'm going to use words, feel. You feel like you've put in the work. You feel like you've learned enough. You feel like you've got the experience. You feel like you've done enough in terms of showing up in the gym, trying to track your macros and investing in different various programs and these things. So you feel you deserve something. That's your sense of self telling you you deserve something. No different than in a relationship. You know, you feel you've been trying to stick to your boundaries. You feel you've been speaking up for yourself. You feel that you've been putting energy into these things. You feel that you deserve more self-respect and more respect from the people around you. You feel like you need to have better people around you. All these things of feelings is your own ego and your own sense of self around the relationships you're building. The biggest thing is with family, you know, based on the stuff that you've endured your entire life. Maybe it's poverty. Maybe it's some type of an abusive relationship, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is. The abuse it puts you in this part where your ego conceptualized you deserve something more because you acknowledged it and you feel like you're doing the work for it. Especially financially. You know, a lot of you guys feel like you deserve to make more money. You feel like you need to have more sick days. You feel like you need to live more abundantly and more free within your life because you feel that you have been putting in the work and going to school, getting the education, showing up and putting the time in at work and going for the promotions and doing the certificates and, you know, having those conversations with your managers and your bosses, and, you know, you feel like you've been doing everything. And I think the biggest thing that I want to highlight before I even get into, like, you know, where the big misconception is with your ego and what you feel like you deserve is, again, remember, I said it's subjective to your own opinion, so it has to be on you to really, like, understand what is proof, what is factual versus what is emotional based. And this is where the ego has this crazy dynamic where your emotional state can be brought into these conversations super, super heavily, and then you think and feel that you have to get more out of what you're doing. And this is where you can have a catastrophic mindset, a fucking mindset that just is literally designed to make you feel like you're not good enough, to make you feel like it's never going to be an ending spiral or a shit train of just like, why am I never getting the actual fruits of my labor, physically and mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and the whole 9 yards. And I think the biggest thing that I want to get into before I just jump into the meat and potatoes of the podcast is, you got to understand, at the end of the day, it's always going to be on you to reflect on your life as to the real work that you've put in. And what I mean by real work, that's the factual-based things that we're talking about. No one can tell you what these things are in your life unless you are investing into different avenues of your life for people to be able to tell you these things. And again, it's on you to have an open mind, aka a good relationship with your sense of self, your ego, to at least be receptive to the feedback and the information. 3 examples. Let's say you wanted to physically change your life, and you invest into a coach, invest into a mentor, invest into somebody financially with your money that you've been your hard-earned money, your time, all of this stuff. You're giving somebody something for to get something in back. Like, you got to realize there's going to be things you're going to have to hear from a physicality standpoint that you don't like. 2 things right off the bat when you're trying to change your life physically. You're going to have to do movements or workouts you don't fucking like to do, to a degree. They're hard. Squat movements are hard. Barbell RDLs and all these different fucking big movements are fucking hard. So you're going to have to accept the fact you're going to have to do something hard. With your nutrition, same fucking thing. You're going to have to accept the feedback that, hey, maybe you eat fucking shitty and all these different things. And this is where it becomes a very slippery slope of you're like, well, I feel like X. And it's like, we're focused on the factual based things. But again, if you're investing into somebody for your physicality, you have to be at least open to the feedback to be receptive to it. Because if you're not receptive to it, that's where I'm going to bridge that gap of where your ego creates a sense of self that's actually higher than actually who you are. And the factual based things are when you're investing into things with physicality, there's metrics that you got to measure in order to see the facts versus the emotional based things. No different than financially. You're working at a career, you're working on your career, you're trying to get ahead, you're trying to get that promotion, you're trying to I was talking to one of my buddies the other day during our workouts, and it's like the golden handcuffs. You got your golden handcuffs on, and you're playing the fucking system, you're trying to show up, you're putting hours in, you're looking for the raise, you're doing the certificates, you're doing the trainings, you're doing everything you need. You know what I mean? And then there's a very fine line of what that feedback is within those metrics of measurement for your career advancements that's factual versus what's emotional based. Just because you did hundreds and hundreds of hours of a continued education and maybe went to all the extracurricular activities that maybe your job and your career talks about and all the extra things in between, that doesn't necessarily mean you deserve the promotion or deserve a raise, because again, your emotional investment is not the same as the factual investment. No different than in a relationship. Just because you feel like you've talked about your boundaries, you feel like you put yourself first in all these different circumstances, or you feel like you put your partner first, or whatever the dynamic of this relationship is first, that's not factually based. What have you actually done? What have you actually communicated? What have you actually put in play as a boundary and made sure both people are aware of it? Have you, you're lacking of in terms of thinking that you deserve these things from an emotional standpoint, but what's the factual things that you're being proactive with that are certain? And I think this is the biggest misconception with your ego and what you feel like you deserve, is because it's a very fine line. That's why it's subjective to you to reflect on these things, because if you're not acknowledging it or are you receptive to these things, you're never going to get the feedback. And I really want to make that clear, because at the end of the day, no one can tell you what's right and wrong in your life to a degree. However, there has to be some self-ownership, self-actualization, and self-development around eating this shit. Physicality, if you are tracking your nutrition and you're started off with your coach and you guys start dissecting it and you're not doing something right in accordance to your goals, that doesn't mean you're less than. And if for sure, just because you tracked in and put effort into, doesn't mean you deserve the results. And that's where you guys get caught up, because you're like, oh, I've been doing this for so long, I deserve X. I've been, going to doing all this for so long, I deserve X. That doesn't fucking mean nothing. Just because you show up every single day and you are putting in the effort doesn't mean you necessarily deserve the outcome you're going for. Do you deserve to feel better than when you started? 100%. But that goes back to the conversation of you got to have a concept of reflection, a concept of hearing that you're not where you need to be. This is why we have a really soft relationship and touching our relationship with the people that are closest to us that we love, like our best friends that hold us accountable. Those people that you kind of reach out to kind of get better conversation with, because they're going to give you the harsh reality that you're willing to listen to, all these different things. But it's on you to be able to be receptive. That's why if anyone knows me, in terms of we've had these conversations before, or you're my client, or I've talked to you directly, why do you think I invest so much money into the people around me? I know that my ego will run rampant and tell me that I deserve to have so many more things than I actually need and have. And it's it's on me to put myself in a rock, put myself in that spot that's between my ego and a rock and a hard place. You know what I mean? It's like that Spider-Man meme. There's me pointing at my ego, and my ego's pointing at everyone else. And then I got my emotional state pointing at what I deserve and what I think I deserve. And then I got the factual based shit pointing at everything back. And I think the biggest thing is when you start to really understand, listen, your ego is just your sense of self. And we're so caught up on our emotional state as to what we think we feel we deserve, what we think we know we deserve, what we think we feel, we think we understand. None of that has anything to do with us actually moving forward. And that's why a lot of us that are stuck in this kind of misconception of a thought pattern feel like we bottom out. We have to be all or nothing, 110% into the arena. We're doing everything 110%, whether it's our career advancements, no time for anything else. We're working on our relationship or ourselves. We have no time for anything else. We want to change our life physically, emotionally, and spiritually in the gym, and be happy with what we see in the mirror. We don't have time for anything else. And that's why nutrition's hard, because I can't enjoy my food. I can't go and do this left or right because I got to focus on this. That's what happens when you don't have your actual expectations aligned with the factual based things in terms of checking your ego. You're all based on the things that are emotional. Oh, mom did this to me, so I deserve X. Guess what? Shut the fuck up. It sucks. Oh, dad did this to me, and oh, I deserve this. Shut the fuck up. It's on you. It's it's that famous quote where it's it may not be your fault that things happen to you and are happening a certain way. However, it's your fucking responsibility to stand up and understand what action needs to be taken as ownership. You know what I mean? And I think the biggest thing with the ego is that that's where we become obsessed with this idea of what we think we deserve, and then we get this all or nothing mentality where we're going 100% at all times, and then we bottom out. We burn ourselves out, and we're almost like chasing nothing. We feel like we're like not getting ahead, and we're like, why? And we're confused, and then our self-esteem takes a hit. We don't think we're worthy. We start questioning life. Why are we doing certain things? And at the end of the day, that's going to be something that we all struggle with, because, I don't want to say imposter syndrome, something that we all will experience. But, when you want to change your life on any avenue, you're going to feel insecure in the beginning. But again, going back to the conversation of you being receptive to understanding the information as to where you need to make these changes, factually based, to remove the emotional out of it. If you're not willing to embrace that actual change for the real certainty and accuracy of what needs to be changed, you're just going to be stuck in this revolving door of I put in the time, I feel I deserve it, why don't I have it? And you don't have it because you're not actually looking at the things that fucking matter the most. Prime example with nutrition. Most people, and it's not to shadow some of my clients, I'm not shouting you guys out at all, kind of exposing you. Like, prime example, I'll go to coffee with some of my clients, or, I'll see on their stories that they're hanging out with some of their friends, or whatever it may be. And it's like in their MyFitnessPal and in their apps are tracking their nutrition. They don't put none of their lattes. They don't put none of their extra little sugary things that they drink. They don't put any of the extra drinks that they have, all these little small things. Yet they have the nerve to feel like they deserve to be down a certain amount of weight, or down up a certain amount of muscles, or, have more performance in these areas. And it's like, but you're cutting corners, and your ego's telling you deserve it more, because you're just literally neglecting the self-ownership over the factual based things. Same thing with the gym. It's like most people that skip your warm-ups, or you don't go 110% into the actual workouts, and like focus on your form, focus on your tempo. Use your coaches as feedback to send videos and get the most out of your things. You can't just show up in the gym, put 50% into something, and you feel that it's 100%, you deserve 100%. It doesn't fucking work that way. It's no different than your financial state. Like, oh, I don't have enough money to save, or don't have enough money to do this or do that. It's like, well, that's because you feel like you deserve to have more money to play with. And unfortunately, the facts are you don't. And then we can go on a long rant back and forth as to why we think that you're in this position. But again, it'll veer off the actual path very fast and go into an emotional based thing, X, Y, and Z. So I think the biggest thing that I want to get across when it comes to your ego, what you think you deserve, is you got to remove your emotions of it. You got to remove the idea of your sense of self and really know who you are as a person. And I think the biggest thing with that as well is just, you got to find what resonates for you in terms of how you can sit down and eat the shit, understand the shit for what it is, and just move forward without any type of reprimand towards yourself. That's why you guys can't move forward, because if you don't feel like you're going 110% locked in at 10 toes down, chin up, chest out, giving it your all, then that's when you be like, well, I feel like I deserve more. It's like, well, of course we all feel like we deserve more, but it's like, what is actually factually happening here? Like, what is the fucking facts? Prime example when it comes to work. A lot of you guys get fucked at work because of the jobs you guys are in. And that's why facts are so important, because we all know if you worked in corporate, you worked in privatized markets, you worked with some type of career advancements, your feelings don't give a flying fuck. That quote of you die today, tomorrow you're going to have a job posting is fucking real. And it's like, you can't sit here and think you deserve more financially, to your career if you actually aren't doing the work. And to give you kind of an example in terms of just to kind of reflect and tell you guys how I'm kind of managing all this, is I have like 5 to 8 mentors, and these people are in my life for 3 reasons. Number 1, to keep my ego in check, because I always want to be a student, and that's one way that you can always make sure your ego's in check, is making sure you look up to somebody else, because again, you got to be receptive to the feedback. And most people around you, mostly your family, will kind of give you feedback sometimes, and sometimes they're right, but then until you hear from someone that you look up to, your mentor, you're like, fuck. And then all of a sudden, again, it goes back to the emotional base. You're going to ignore things. Can't go and tell your family, God forbid, you're sorry. But you got to have people that are in your corner for the things that you want in your life. And you got to be able to be receptive to that feedback. And I have 2 mentors for my financial side of my life, my business. Whatever they say goes, because I understand that they're in a part of life that I want. They have what I want. They did and have been doing things that I haven't done yet. So, I had a conversation with them within the last 6 months, and this is the exact conversation we had. It was like, I literally on the phone call with this guy mentioned, I feel like I deserve X. I feel like I deserve X. And then he was like, not to be rude, dude, but you don't deserve anything. None of us deserve anything. If you wake up, that's all you deserve, is to wake up. The rest of it's a fucking blessing. Like the fact that I can record this podcast on my MacBook with my microphones in my office is a blessing. I don't deserve fuck all. Who says I even deserve this? And instead you can kind of like practice humility and being humble, not detrimenting your fucking, like, don't become detrimental to your mental health and say I deserve nothing, I'm a piece of shit. It's all being humble and understanding that you're already good enough with what you have access to. What is the factual things to get that much better? And that's why that all or nothing mentality is fucking horrible for you guys, because you guys get caught up in your emotions, and that's when the self-esteem takes a hit and all these different negative sides of things come in. But the second thing that I have these mentors for is because I can get the real feedback that I need. That real concrete feedback. I don't have to lean on my emotions as to what I think I should be doing or how I should be doing these things. It's real. It's factual. It's 110%. Like, your finances are here. Your client gain is here. Your client acquisition is here. Like, this is the proof in the pudding. Once you systemize it and understand the facts, and you can run away from that anxiety and confront it 110% with actual information that's going to move the needle. Not what you think's going to move the needle, not what you want that's going to move the needle, but the things that will actually do the work that gets you to the fruits of your labor, which is the biggest issue, because your ego is telling you deserve more, and you fucking don't deserve anything that you didn't work for, and it has to be true work. And the third thing is accountability. They keep you accountable. They keep you accountable. They keep you locked in. They keep you in the section that you need to stay in terms of the arena. Like all my clients, I say, you got to stay in that arena and fight these emotions and fight these demons, because then once you start to get the upper hand on how you operate, you then reverse psychology yourself and understand how to optimize your life, because you just know how, your emotional state, your triggers, how your self-disciplinary acts that you need to do every single day in order to stay tip-top and in your best shape. And that's how it works. And this is the same relationship I have with all of my mentors. So I have two business mentors. I have literally three people in my corner for my physicality, a registered massage therapist. I have two sports specialists that helps me build my program, and I work with the other guy in terms of like my actual injuries and movement specialists and all these different things. They tell me what I need to do for the gym. They tell me what I need. I have a naturopath. I don't have one anymore, but I have one that I was working with, getting my blood work, optimizing my biochemistry, and despite what I want to do sometimes, they tell me what I need to do. Prime example with the diet. If I want to eat Doritos and McDonald's and all this trash every day, I'm pre-exposed to that from growing up. I would love to fucking do that, but I can't. And does it do it? Like, everyone that knows about my diet, like my protein oats in the morning, I don't love that shit. There's a lot of meals that I have that I don't love, but it's like I understand why I'm doing it, and then I get to earn the things that are actually factually going to change my life. So there's a bunch of mentors right there, and then I have a couple other guys that I confide in for my mental health and just like, their ideologies on life and opinions for like certain things. And, like I'm receptive to the feedback to accept the shit, because our ego will run rampant if we don't allow it. If we don't fucking get a hold on it, and that's where it becomes a bad thing, and it could become a bad relationship with yourself, because again, your ego is your sense of self, and it's very subjective to your opinion on what you truly believe you deserve and how you should operate, and no one should tell you how that should be done unless you want it to be told from someone that you genuinely trust. And that's why it's so important to have this self-actualization in this part of your life just fucking understood, because if you don't, you're just going to look back one day with all of these regrets. And that's why do you think so many people on their deathbed, when they get older, they start to look back on their lives and really regret things? Because everything was done from the intention on what they think they deserve based on their emotions. And that is a very widespread fucking shotgun splatter of a thought pattern, because you have several things coming on at once. But if you can look back and factually know you put your ego aside, you practice humility, you didn't think you were less than, or you didn't question your self-esteem, your self-worth, or what you feel like you deserve in life just based on the facts, because sometimes shit fucking sucks. Being in a relationship, having family members, and you're trying to become a better version, you're gonna hurt people's feelings by mistake. And you can't, become less than of a person than you think you are because of those things. So you got to take that shit on the chin. And, you're never going to look back with regrets on that. You're just going to be proud that you just at least ate the shit. You stayed in the arena. You fought for what was truly right for yourself. And sure, at the end of the day, allow your ego to run rampant to understand that, that reflection as to, what do you think you deserve? And, don't become one of those people that ends up becoming like, I don't deserve anything and all these things, because it's a very slippery slope, like I'm saying. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to have some type of communication in relationship with your ego from a true standpoint, and not get caught up with being reversed psychology by it at all the times. Because I'm telling you right now, a lot of you guys get caught up in the emotional side of what you think you deserve in life, and it's not even real. It's perceptions and it's misconceptions, and then all of a sudden you're walking through the world like why do I feel so full of depression? Why am I so anxious? All these different things, and it's because you're not aligned with who you are. You're not operating from who you need to be, but you're rather operating from who you want to be. And you need to operate from who you are in order to get who you want to be, because who you want to be is out there 110%, but sometimes it just isn't aligned with who you are as a person. And when you have the misconceptions and you're being lied to by yourself through these misconceptions, then you create a life that doesn't really fucking matter. No different than when we were all between 15 and 25 years old, partying, probably getting into things that we shouldn't be, because our sense of self needed to be validated through a bunch of different people, which it was just misery loves company. And then all of a sudden, by the time you hit 25, you realize, quote unquote, we all had those times, man, I wasted so much time with this person, either in a relationship or with these friend groups or all these different things, just because your sense of self was validated through these false pretenses that don't even fucking exist. I can go and rant about this one forever, because I just think it's super, super important to put yourself between your ego and who you actually need to become, because there's a lot of answers in there. None of them are wrong. It just depends on which ones you take and actually open them up and say, this is the one I'm going to chase with. Because if it's from an emotional-based standpoint and there's no factual-based evidence backing it up, you're going to be fucked. You're straight up going to be fucked. And it sucks, you know what I mean? Because you can put in so much work and so much effort, and sometimes it doesn't mean fucking nothing. But when you can understand what every ounce of effort you put forward means, that's when things will come better than your own comprehension, and you'll get way more out of life than you ever fucking realized was out there, because it's honest, real work. That's all I got for today. I feel like I ranted a little bit, but I just was super passionate about this one, and I feel like a lot of my clients lately, we've been having conversations as to the reality of the efforts they're putting in, and aligning them with the things that actually are going to serve them as people, not serve the idea of who they need to be for the people around them. Who are you within yourself for the people around you, not who are you for the people around you. There's a huge misconception there that people get caught up in, and if you can deviate from who you actually are versus who you need to be for certain people, you're going to see a lot of growth within that. And then that's where you're going to see your ego run rampant and challenge you, because it doesn't want to let go of some of these misconceptions and preconceived ideas as to how you think you should operate. But other than that, I wish you guys nothing but the best fucking week of your guys' absolute lives. And if there's anything you guys ever fucking need, don't hesitate to reach out, and just keep doing what you guys do best, which is lead for the motherfucking front and set that goddamn example. Let's get it.
Bro, I'm pumping off adrenaline. I'm way too in my element. I know there's people better than, but right now who is better than? A man that's working hard as shit, trying to find a pot to piss. Showing all the ups and downs, shit is filled with awkwardness. Working on my discipline, time for me, I schedule it. Show my life unedited, I be doing shit I never did. Music therapeutic, here's a little dose of medicine.